Good evening and welcome to the Newshour Agenda. I'm Madhavdas G. The lies, fraud, deceit and decoy is tumbling out one after the other. Yes, viewers, we're talking about IAS officer Puja Khedkar, who remains defiant even as proof after proof emerges of how she subverted the system using fakery and fraudulence. After Times Now's relentless coverage, the crackdown has now started. Puja Khedkar has been relieved from her duties as trainee IAS officer. From Vashim, she will now be leaving for the Civil Services Training Institute in Mussoorie. Meanwhile, more skeletons are tumbling out in the Puja Khedkar case. She allegedly lied in her Central Administrative Tribunal applications. Times Now has accessed her CAT applications from two different years, 2020 and 2023, which show that she changed her name and her age in these applications as well. While in 2020, her official name in the documents is Dr. Khedkar Puja Dilip Rao, in 2023 documents, her name is shown as Ms. Puja Manorama Dilip Khedkar. The documents also clearly show that while her age was mentioned as 30 years in 2020, in a span of 3 years, it changed by just 1 year. In her 2023 application, her age is mentioned as 31 years only. Absolutely astounding. Also under the lens are her disability certificate issued to Puja Khedkar at the Yashwantrao Chavan Memorial Hospital. And this is a disability certificate that was mentioning her 7% locomotor disability in her left knee. But the benchmark disability is 40% to claim benefits. Now, the Maharashtra Board of Disability Welfare has ordered a probe and says that action will be taken if irregularities are found in the disability certificates produced by Puja. When Times Now confronted her, she remained silent.
मैम, नए डॉक्यूमेंट्स सामने आए हैं जिसमें आपकी एज को लेकर डाउट किया जा रहा है. उसमें आपके डाउट्स बहुत कम आ रहे हैं मैम.
मैं वापस आने वाली हूँ, मैं बाइट देखती हूँ.
मैम, अगर इस चीज को क्लैरिफाई कर दें, स्टेट बोर्ड ऑफ डिसेबिलिटी ने आपके ऊपर इंक्वायरी बिठाने की मांग की है. शेड्यूल प्रमाणे तुम्हें काम करता है क्या मैम? मैम, डिसेबिलिटी बोर्ड ने आपके ऊपर क्वेश्चन रेज किया है.
And viewers, will also be showing you how the rot runs deep in the system. In this Times Now sting operation, my colleague spoke to a hospital officer who reveals how Puja Khedkar exploited the system knowingly. To obtain a disability certificate, Puja gave different addresses. Remember, one can apply for the medical certificates through a government online portal, and duplication, if any, is identified mainly with the addresses given by the applicant. So there are no high-end systems to scrutinize such intricate details, and it's checked only on the basis of the residential address given. So Puja has given one set of addresses to one hospital and another set of addresses to another.
In this certificate, she has given address of Dehu Anandi Road, Talwadi, Pimpri, Chinchwad. Now, to apply in these two hospitals, she has given this.
Which particular address?
Now, she is a resident of Baner.
She is a resident
of Baner.
Okay.
Yeah. So that address is everywhere on every other document or anything like that. But for this particular thing, she has opted this way.
So, but then we don't have a mechanism in place to check the address details. We have a document pertaining the address. We have the address, so she is eligible for certification process in my same hospital. That's what we check. We don't send our person to check where koi rehta hai ki nahi, वहाँ residence उनका है कि नहीं, वो जाके check करें. ऐसा mechanism आपके पास है नहीं.
तो basically मतलब system का loophole समझ के उसका फायदा उठाएगा.
But Puja Khedkar is not the only one. The CBI has unearthed a job scam in Chhattisgarh from the time of the Baghel government. The CBI has uncovered rampant favoritism and corruption within the Chhattisgarh Public Service Commission, or the CGPSC. The probe reveals how the high-ranking officials of the government and politicians under Bhupesh Baghel-led Congress rule manipulated the system to secure government jobs for their own children and relatives, effectively robbing deserving candidates of their rightful opportunities. Between 2020 and 2022, the then chairman, secretary and controller of examinations of the CGPSC are accused of abusing their position to appoint their sons, daughters and other relatives to coveted positions such as deputy collectors, deputy superintendents of police, labor officers and district excise officers. What's also shocking is that even relatives and kids of prominent Congress leaders in the Chhattisgarh government got recruited to top government posts fraudulently through this exam. Now a political war of words has broken out after the CBI probe has revealed how meritocracy was killed in the state.
चुनाव के दौरान, विधानसभा चुनाव के दौरान प्रधानमंत्री जी भी छत्तीसगढ़ की जनता से वादा किए थे कि छत्तीसगढ़ में भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार बनेगी तो यहाँ के युवाओं के साथ पीएससी में जो घोटाले हुए हैं तो उसकी सीबीआई द्वारा जांच होगी और दोषीदार लोगों पर कार्रवाई होगी। सीबीआई अपनी जांच प्रारंभ कर चुकी है।
Are you saying that nobody associated with the party in power or their children should appear in these examinations? If they have merit, they certainly have every right to be selected. But if there is a wrongdoing, you examine their papers. This is what I had said to the media even at that time when this matter had come up, that the examination papers would be available, the answer sheets would be available. Examine the answer sheets and see that are the marks that are given on those answer sheets valid marks.
So that's as far as this particular case is concerned. We'll in fact take this across to our reporter who's been in fact covering the story from the very beginning as well. Srushti is with us. Srushti, very, very important to see how really the entire system was subverted. While her trainee IAS program has now been cancelled, she will be heading back to Mussoorie. The fact is that the violations, the manner in which she got those hospital certificates all really show how she managed to exploit those loopholes in the system. Quickly take us through what the hospital staff told you, who you were speaking to earlier today.
Well, of course, when we were talking to a hospital official, he mentioned the fact that there is a system on which one can apply for the medical certificate. And that system scrutinizes on the basis of certain details, importantly on the residential address. However, Puja managed to give certain addresses on different locations on different medical certificates where she wanted to apply for. Now, for Aund Hospital, she has given different address. For Yashwantrao Chauhan Medical Hospital, she has given different address. Aund Hospital, her certification was cancelled, citing duplication. However, the disability certificate was given to her at the Yashwantrao Chauhan Medical Hospital. However, this is important to note that there is a portal which gives out medical certificate to the candidates or to anybody who wants it, but that portal doesn't scrutinize the details of the particular person who is applying for it, and that loophole was catched by Puja is what we can understand, and that's how she opted for medical certificate. And this is not for the specifically Pune case. She also opted for the medical certificate in Ahmednagar as well. There also she got medical certificate twice, one for the vision problem, and other time she opted for the mental illness, and then she combined both the medical certificates. But importantly, when she was asked to give out the medical examination at AIIMS Delhi, she refused to go there. She didn't apply. She didn't go for the examinations which was asked by the AIIMS Delhi. So she cited a reason of claustrophobia, and she was not able
very,
to
very
give
shocking
out
on multiple levels there,
her...
Srishti. Thanks so much for bringing out this expose and really bringing out the kind of violations that have been committed by Puja Khedkar. Thanks so much for joining us this evening.
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Let's take this across to our guest. Joining us live, we have Susie Ben Shah, spokesperson of the Shiv Sena Shinde faction. With us also is Rupali Patel Thombre, who's spokesperson of the NCP Ajit Pawar faction. T.S. Singh Deo, former Deputy Chief Minister of Chhattisgarh, is joining us. We also have with us Dr. Anand Ragnathan, author. Anjali Damania, activist, is with us, as well as Yashovardhan Azad, who's a former IPS officer. Let me start first and foremost with you, Susie Ben Shah. It has taken, ma'am, several days, almost 2 weeks, for some kind of action to be taken against this particular IAS officer. There are several probes, I believe 4 at the last count, that are being conducted against her by the Disability Welfare Commission. There's a collector there who's also doing a probe into the assets, etc. There are those who are probing, the DOPT is probing how, she managed to get through the UPSC. Why is it so difficult to take action against a person whom every day there's a new story coming out about violations? Why is it taking so long?
A good evening to all, and let me tell you this. As far as UPSC is concerned, it's a constitutional body, and the government has as such no role to play. The appointment, the selection is done by UPSC. As far as Puja Khedkar is concerned, she is a very irresponsible, bratish type of an officer who has a sense of entitlement. She is no public servant. She has no service towards the common man. But as far as the Shiv Sena is concerned, as far as the Mahayuti is concerned, I'll tell you with lot of confidence that we are a no-nonsense government. Especially our CM Eknath Raoji Shinde sans VIP culture or a sense of entitlement.
Then why are you tolerating so much nonsense, ma'am? If you're a no-nonsense government, please tell us. As citizens, we demand an answer. Why are you tolerating this unending amount of nonsense that's appearing to come out in the Puja Khedkar case?
It is swiftly... No. Let me complete. Our government and the entire process we have to follow the rule of law. Now, there is a CAT tribunal. The hearing was going on. It was taken on priority with clear instruction that howsoever powerful you are, the investigation should go on swiftly, surely, without any favor to anyone. Now, coming back to the IAS cadre, I agree with you that in the sense it's a very opaque organization. You see, once they are made an IAS officer at the age of 30, 31, they have 30 years of long service without going back to the people. As we are the people's representative, you have to go back every 5 years. An IAS officer, I don't know. So maybe that has to be relooked.
No, they are not supposed to be elected, ma'am. They are in touch with the people. They have no. Ma'am, you are a politician. You have to be elected and you are accountable to the people every 5 years. The problem is not that. The problem is how are the selection processes being violated with such impunity? And I think that's where we need to bring in Mr. Yashovardhan Azad, because I saw Mr. Azad, you were clutching your brow at certain comments being made here by Suzy Ben Shah. And her point is that the state government has acted with great speed. It is the centre and the UPSC which have to answer. Please respond to us, sir.
There's a lot of truth in what she has said. I must say that. First of all, let me say that this lady should have been discharged by now. Why she has not been discharged is because of the complete inaction at various phases of the government. In India, there is hardly any tough decision taken by anyone, whether it's a minister, whether it's a secretary. And that's why we suffer all these issues. The most important thing is, it's not a state government, ma'am. It's got nothing to do with state government. Please listen to me. The first thing is that when this lady refused to go to the AIMS, the duty officer had given the information. The information must have gone to the Department of Personnel. The information must have gone to the UPSC. And immediately an action should have been taken by then. And she would have been given a show cause notice, which was not given by anyone so far. Number two, the collector who's in charge of that district, he had every reason to issue her a departmental inquiry against her for the kind of thing she did. Number one, she grabbed the antechamber of the additional deputy commissioner, which is just not done. Third, the illegality includes that she got an Audi as a present. And the Audi does not belong to her, and there were about 27 challans in that. Now, fourth is the kind of OBC certificate she got. There are two rules, Madhav. One is the All India Service Conduct Rules, which expects you to maintain, integrity, etc., etc. But there is one which is All India Service Probation Rules. In probation rules, you can be discharged if you're found that you have no qualities of an IAS or an IPS officer. In this case, there has been so much evidence. So the cabinet secretary or the personal secretary, all these people should by now have taken cognizance of this and should have got a dismiss, but they didn't do it. Now what has happened is this case has gone back to the director of the academy. So from one end, it will go to the other end. And when the decision is made, Madhav, again, she will go to all the bodies like the OBC bodies, etc., etc. So the whole tortuous process will go on.
My God. And in fact, one can only imagine, or one can't imagine actually why any government would want, for this entire thing to play out in this manner. And Rupali Patil Tomre, would you like to respond to Yashovardhan Azad? He, of course, knows a thing or two about how the administrative services function in this country, having served at the highest levels of government. The point is this. Why drag this matter to such an extent that you're giving pretty much एक opportunity दिया जा रहा है, ऐसा लग रहा है पूजा खेडकर को कि वो हर एक अपना लीगल एवेन्यू एक्सप्लॉइट किए जाए. क्योंकि अगर आप उनकी यूपीएससी के सर्टिफिकेट्स देंगे, कैट के सर्टिफिकेट्स आपको पढ़ के बताता हूं, 2020 में उनकी एज होती है 30 साल, 2023 में उनकी एज होती है 31 साल. ये कैसा अजूबा है मैडम? ये कौन सा नेचुरल वंडर है कि वो 3 साल में उनकी उम्र 1 ही साल बढ़ती है? इतने ग्लेयरिंग लैप्सेस हैं तब भी इन पे कार्रवाई नहीं होती।
देखिए, ये जो प्रिया खेड़कर का मैटर सामने आया है वो बहुत ही सीरियस मैटर है और इसमें जो भी एक्शन लेनी थी तो महाराष्ट्र सरकार के यहाँ के जो आईपीएस है उन्होंने सुहाग दिवसे करके उन्होंने कंप्लेंट की कि ये प्रश्नार्थ मीन्स प्रोबेशन के जो अधिकारी है जो यहाँ पे आपने भेजा है उसका बिहेवियर अच्छा नहीं है, उसके जो बर्ताव है उन्होंने वहां में मेंशन किए। अभी 9 दिनों तक आपके मीडिया पे उसका पूरा चर्चा चल रहा है। अभी आज ही उसको मसूरी के जो लाल बहादुर शास्त्री संस्था है उन्होंने वापस बुला लिया है। कोई भी कंप्लेंट होगी, चिंताजनक तो ये बात है कि IAS ऑफिसर ही इसमें फ्रॉड कर रहे हैं और जो पहले से ही IAS है उनके बच्चे, उनकी बेटियां, इनको ये जो लीगल रूल्स है वो अपने को बचा के जो फ्रॉड्स कर रहे हैं वो बहुत चिंताजनक है। मगर इस मैटर में महाराष्ट्र सरकार ने तुरंत एक्शन ले लिए और ये जो भी जितने मैटर जितने फ्रॉड्स है उसके सभी के ऊपर एक तुरंत कार्रवाई होनी चाहिए। इनको सेवा में शामिल नहीं करना चाहिए, उनको निलंबित ही करना चाहिए। मगर जो संस्थाएं यहाँ पे अवेलेबल है उनका काम है कि जो आप डॉक्यूमेंट दे रहे हैं, जैसे आपने बोला 2020 में 30 साल है, 2022 में 31 साल हो गया, ये कौन सा तरीका है? नॉर्मल बच्चे के लिए जब ये पढ़ाई होती है तो इतनी आसान नहीं होती है, उसको बहुत ही स्ट्रगल करना पड़ता है। मगर IAS के ही बच्चे जो अधिकारी है वो अपने बच्चे के लिए जो सेव कर रहे हैं ना, वो बहुत गलत बात है। ये देश के लिए भी हानिकारक है।
बिल्कुल हानिकारक है मैम, तभी तो सवाल पूछने की कार्रवाई क्यों नहीं की जा रही। Let me bring in Anjali Damania on that note. Anjali Damania, it's not just the documents that have been submitted to the Central Administrative Tribunal, certificates of disability, which have been faked, which have been cooked up, and our reporter has actually gone to that hospital who've explained that there's an online portal, you have to match it only through the addresses, but if a person gives different names, different addresses, then, many are going to ask what kind of a system do we also have. Of course, she has exploited the loophole, which allows this kind of, open forgery, if I can call it that, for lack of a better word.
Definitely. See, first of all, I would want to mention that incredible amount of work has been put in by my friend RTI activist Vijay Kumbar in this matter. He has done immense work in digging out the whole paperwork and all the details of Puja Khedkar. Now what we need to see is, and what we need to actually know is that it is high time the people in this country rise and the young generation rise, because we have seen time and again everything can be bought out with money, power and political connect. You can have money, you can buy a NEET exam paper at whatever cost. In Chhattisgarh, you can buy a UPSC the exam paper and again get away with it. You can change your fortune by getting disability certificates to whatever level. And if that is the kind of example that we are setting before the new generation, then it is a real sorry state of affairs, because UPSC is one of the topmost exam in the country. The country needs extremely good IAS officers to actually run the country. And what are we doing here? Here, even the NEET exams we saw, we need brilliant doctors to take care of our medical services. So if I buy a NEET paper, I can easily get away with it. The same thing has happened in Puja Khedkar's case. Here we have one doctor, S.V. Raskar, who gave her the vision certificate. We have another doctor called Yogesh Gadekar, who gave her the mental health certificate, both summing up to more than 51%. Making her an MD, that is a person with multiple disabilities. If she is a person with multiple disabilities, can any of us see any of those disabilities anywhere? And don't we realize that we need to shake up? We need to wake up. We need to stop this nonsense. And first and foremost, we saw in the Pune Porsche case, we saw that one forensic doctor changes the blood samples. The judge gives judgment in favor of that brat who was completely a spoiled brat. Anything and everything can be bought by money, and it's a big wake-up call for the country.
Absolutely. I don't think there's any two ways about it. I don't think there's even a debate about it, that this is a massive wake-up call for everyone. Because if this is happening at the highest level of recruitment, IAS officers, then God only knows what's happening in other parts of the country. But let me quickly take this across to Mr. T.S. Singh Deo, former Deputy CM of Chhattisgarh. Mr. T.S. Singh Deo, it's not just the case of Puja Khedkar. The case of what has happened as far as the Chhattisgarh Public Service Commission is also extremely shocking, because there are very serious and grave charges of nepotism at the highest level, where the secretary, the chairman of the commission itself are accused of getting, jobs for their relatives, if not immediate son and daughter, then distant relatives. And also at the same time, there are similar charges against senior officials and even politicians of the state. Now, this is a very, very serious thing that has come out following CBI's inquiry. Isn't it similar, sir? A similar case of nepotism?
Good evening to you. Good evening to all the panelists and all the viewers. Whatever wrongdoing is there, if there are complaints, if there is an inquiry, there is absolutely no question about what should be done next, which is action. It should be taken. Where the lapses were, they should be part of the inquiry. Was there willful at any level, willful attempts to bypass the system or compromise the system? All those matters should come to the fore and let action be taken.
No, but sir, the charges are very serious, in terms of criminal conspiracy, cheating. I'm reading from the FIR, public servant being bribed, taking undue advantage to influence public servant by corrupt or illegal means or by exercise of personal influence, abetment of offences punishable under the PC Act. The opposition is perhaps rightly so, has questioned the government when it comes to exams such as NEET. But when it comes to the Public Service Commission in the state of Chhattisgarh, also similarly, whoever was responsible, and you were part of the government, sir, would you also take responsibility for this?
Why not? If I am responsible in any way, moral or otherwise, I should also be made accountable. There is no question about that. And these things have been happening not only in particular governments, but if you're talking about Chhattisgarh, before this government was there, similar things had come up. And if there is a repetition, and we are seeing that in another government also the system somehow seems to be able to get compromised, certainly you take action. If there are serious wrongdoings, then take serious action, take strong action.
Well, Dr. Ranganathan, while it's very interesting to see Mr. T.S. Singh Deo saying that certainly if there is any responsibility, action should be taken, he takes moral responsibility as well. But is it really that simple? Because at the end of the day, it's really like killing meritocracy. Those who deserve to be in those positions of power do not get it because somebody else's father or mother has great political connections or otherwise.
Good evening, Madhav, and good evening to my panelists. I've been listening very patiently for the last 25 minutes to this very interesting and important discussion. I hope to be given the courtesy of a couple of minutes of uninterrupted time. First of all, Madhav, please don't be too harsh on yourself. In the last 3 years, you only also aged 1 year. So I think that's not an issue. But there are two...
With no help from certain trainee IAS officers, may I add.
You're looking younger and younger, which is worrisome. I need to find out how you were recruited. No, Madhav, there are two issues here. Number one pertains to the lady in question that you talk about. It is clearly a fraud. And I have huge respect for Mr. Azad here. He knows it. But this also needs to be said. I'm making a generalized comment, so he should not be offended here. Why is it that always the retired officers find their voice? Why don't they speak up when they are in service? I think things would be a lot more faster, easier, more honest, more scrupulous if people, upright officers like Mr. Azad, were to open their mouth while they were in service. This is a general comment, so this is not, directed at Mr. Azad, and he knows it. Clearly, flags were not raised. Clearly, as you talked about, I took it lightheartedly about the age thing. Obviously, this has to be a raised flag. It wasn't raised, and one of the worst things you can do is to cheat on the disability quota. That's a crime in my eyes, legally and otherwise as well, morally and ethically. So I think if that has transpired, that's the lowest of the low. To take the position of someone who is also differently able, for you to cheat on that is just despicable. But having said that, it is a fraud committed by one person. I am more interested in the other story, which unfortunately, because it happened during the Congress rule, no one's talking about it. I thank you for at least raising this, Madhav. The fact of the matter is large-scale scam took place. Please, let me repeat it. It was not one fraud. Large-scale scam. There is an officer. There are 5 people belonging to a family that have been put up on posts like deputy collector. I mean, this is astonishing. And I do admire the ex-deputy chief minister, Mr. Singh Deo, for saying that he would take moral responsibility. It's another matter that he is no longer in a position where he has to resign. He already is not, at an administrative position. But the fact of the matter, sir, is that this happened before the BJP government took over in 2022. Not only did it happen when large-scale scams took place after the exam, Madhav, the exam itself has to be put in question. 1 to 171, the merit is completely bogus. I repeat, it is not just one person committing fraud. It is I'm sorry to say, entire state machinery.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, Mr. T.S. Singh, I'd like you to come in on that because, the manner in which this scam has taken place, that's what's really shocked people. The scale at which this has happened, at least I haven't heard of in any recent State Public Service Commission an inquiry of this nature happening which has revealed such shocking details. Were you also shocked, sir, when you saw the magnitude of what has really happened? Because there are some in your party who are saying that all this is political vendetta as well.
New. Those are other things. Unfortunately, today in the country, the atmosphere seems to be vitiated and we are all skeptical about inquiries and agencies. That's another matter. But we have to eventually go by the Constitution and its constitutional institutions and expect and hope and want that they should be acting in all fairness and on merit. So those issues I think we should leave aside till other matters come up, till it can be said that those agencies are acting in an objectionable sort of a way. Today the matter which has come up, frankly for me it is also new, because before the election and for whatever it is worth, let me add that maybe one of the reasons for the Congress not doing well was the major reaction amongst youngsters, students, where they felt that their state level examination has been tampered with. That was one of the major reasons why the Congress suffered, particularly in urban centers. That apart, the matter when it had come up at that point in time, initially the name of the chief minister was linked, that his relatives have been accommodated. Then it was that no, it is not immediately his relatives, but the relatives of the chairperson. The matter had gone to court also, and there in the court, the petitioners who had put up this matter for consideration of the court, they were not able to substantiate what was the relationship of which candidate with whom. So that is one examination that I am aware of. Now what is being discussed even in the channel and in the media is something that has happened from 2020 onwards. Frankly, I am not aware of that, nor were those issues raised at that point in time. And it is extremely difficult to believe that the merit list of 1 to 170 is all bogus. So let it be inquired into, because it is very, very difficult for me to.
Well, the period of inquiry, sir, is June 2020 to September 2023, and I'm reading out from the FIR that's in my hands before me. And let me bring in Yashowardhan Azad. Yashowardhan Azad, this is not the problem of any one state government or any, or just the center. This is a systemic problem that we appear to have. Because how can those who do not deserve to get into a particular job or role manage to worm their way in there, as we are seeing from the case of Puja Khedkar to the Chhattisgarh Public Service Commission?
Absolutely right. In fact, Madhav, let me give you a little bit of background. These PSCs have been scandals across the states and across the decade. Why? Because this is about the appointment of people who are even more important than the IAS and IPS officers. These are the deputy collectors and the TSPs who are extremely close to the politicians, and not people like Mr. T.S. Singh, who is one of the most honest and one of the most straightforward politicians I've ever known. So there are those types of politicians who would try and get only deputy collectors or DYSPs in their districts as the SPs or collectors, and they are the ones who go by the tune of the government which is in regime. And that's why there are tremendous stakes for a PSC appointment. People would give their lives for it. And that is why even for the appointment of PSC members, I tell you, the highest and the mighty from all over connect to have this. That's number one. Number two, let me just reply very quickly to Anand Ranganathan, whose joining a debate becomes so interesting, and I respect his scholarship and I enjoy it. Two things, Dr. Ranganathan. It's because of the reason that I used to speak a little out of tune always during service that I was superseded for the job of Director Intelligence Bureau. That happened in the Congress regime. And again, the same thing happened in BJP regime when I was not allowed to become the Chief Information Commissioner, both because I was straightforward, and I'm extremely happy that I carry that medal with me. Thank you.
All right. Very interesting to hear that. Of course, in a sense, that's perhaps the rule of the day. That's perhaps the problem in our system, that those who speak out, at the end of the day, they are the ones who end up suffering. But the point is that everybody needs to speak out. We cannot afford for this kind of thing to take place so blatantly under our noses with such a lot of violations happening. We'll have to leave it there for the moment. Suzy Ben Shah, Rupali Patil Thomre, T.S. Singh Deo, as well as Anjali Damania. I'd like to thank both of you for joining us, as well as, of course, Yashowardhan Azad. Dr. Ranganathan stays with us for debate number 2.